Hello everybody and welcome to Career Coaching with John. Thoughtful approaches for lasting change. My name is John Fielkowski and welcome. Today's episode is all about asking, is it them or is it me? The deep, deep question of, am I the problem? Side note, while working on the script for this episode, I was reminded of General Isaac Brock. Yeah, I know you know that guy. Well, like any 19th century British officer, he looked damn handsome in his tailored red coat. But for you Canadian history fans out there, you'll know him from the War of 1812. The reason us Canadians are now an independent country and not part of the USA. For the rest of you, just know that he had a horse named Alfred. And that should be good enough. Anyway, back to my point. Despite the fact that both during his career and after his death, he's regarded as one of the great military commanders of his era, he himself never really felt like he was doing the important work. Yes, he was a good soldier, and yes, he took his job very seriously. But he always wanted to be somewhere else. He looked longingly at the war against Napoleon in Europe and thought the real glory was there, and that he was wasting his time and talents in the colonies. To me, this is one of the most interesting things about General Brock. He suffered from the same condition I do. That nagging little feeling of, what the hell am I doing here? I think that's a feeling we all have in some form or fashion, but he teaches us that despite all that, we can still make an impact in our world. Now, General Brock never lived to see his moment of glory in Europe. He died in battle near Niagara Falls in 1812. Nonetheless, his legacy lives on, and there's a monument marking where that battle took place, a definite must-see once you're done looking at a bunch of falling water. Now, unlike him, we still have plenty of time to figure out what's holding us back. And don't worry, in case you blocked out the last minute, Alfred the horse did survive the war, and there's plenty of evidence to show he lived out his last days happy on a farm. Anyway, you are listening to Career Coaching with John. This is episode 3. Is it them or is it me? What to do when I'm the problem. My name is John Fielkowski. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Career Coaching with John, where we dig into the realities of work, careers, and figuring out where we actually belong. Today, I want to talk about something that is a little bit tough for me to talk about, and might be tough for you to hear. This is a situation a lot of us have been in, and makes us feel like there is something wrong with us. But it is an important piece of our puzzle. What happens when you're unhappy at work, but no one else is? What if the problem isn't the workplace, but the fact that it's just not the right place for you? Let's talk about workplace misalignment, how to recognize it, and what to do about it. When things aren't working the way we want them to, our gut reaction is to often blame the things around us. We assume the workplace is somehow bad, or toxic, or we are incompetent. In fact, we tend to assume any number of things, largely dependent on the world we grew up in, the media we consume, the friends that we keep. Things aren't going well, and maybe you assume your boss is a bully, maybe they're racist, sexist, or they play favorites. It could be 150 different things that might be true but probably aren't. Perception is important, as is nuance. Recognizing can be the difference between being a victim and feeling empowered. Everybody deserves to be in a workplace that makes them feel supported and that helps them grow into their best professional selves. But the responsibility to get there doesn't fall entirely on the employer. One of the most common things that I hear is that it's not my job to manage people, so they should be bringing the best out of me. Yes, it is true. A great leader will do that. But not all managers are great leaders. They don't teach you the psychology of managing individuals in business school, which means we have to be an active participant in our success. That means teaching people how to treat us. This is somewhat off topic. But it comes very relevant when we find ourselves in a job or company culture that doesn't align with our needs. How we react determines our path forward. The wrong perception can contribute directly to our downfall. Let us then explore this burning question. I'm miserable at work and no one gets it. Well, maybe it's not them. Maybe it's me. What to do when I'm the problem? Okay. You leave. You quit. You move on. All right, well, that's the end of the game. Okay, no, it's not. It's the response, however, that a lot of people have when they hear this complaint. They immediately answer, leave. Get a new job. Quit. You're better than that place. Move on. They are right. They are right. In the long term, you do have to move on. You shouldn't stay at a job that makes you feel like you're out of place. But there is that whole portion in the middle that I think they're ignoring, which makes the advice tone deaf. I'm not a psychologist, so I don't really know the difference, but I feel as though people who are working in a job that makes them feel accomplished forget what it feels like to work in one that doesn't. The demoralizing factors that go in there. When they've quit and they look back at that quitting with hindsight, or they found a new job and they look back at that moment in hindsight, they go, wow, I can't believe that I ever wasted my time in a place like that. And it all seems so easy. But the fact is when you're in that kind of environment, does it feel easy? Does it feel easy to apply for new jobs, to seek a new vision? Finding a job is hard. It's a work on a lot of it, and it's demoralizing. Changing careers is even harder than that, because you're fighting an uphill battle in so many different ways. So my question is, why should you uproot your entire life because things feel off? Is that something you need to do right away? That's what we're going to work on. Chapter 1. The job I thought I'd sign up for. I want to start with a personal story. When I took my last job, I had a very clear idea of why I was there. I saw myself as an in-house consultant, the special projects guy, someone who could help solve the problems and improve things. I thought that was why they hired me, and it was the reason I took the job. In fact, I had pitched this idea for a job to my previous employer, which they turned down. And when the opportunity came up to work with somebody else that was interested in this idea, I felt amazing. I had created something for myself. And that was a real change for me. But when I started trying to have those conversations, started trying to ask for feedback, to point out inefficiencies, when I started digging into the data, and I would come up with identifying problems and things that I thought needed solving and looking for other people's pain points, I was met with silence. Nobody seemed interested. Well, at first, I thought they were afraid to acknowledge the issues. Maybe my approach was off. Maybe they didn't want to admit things weren't working, especially to the new guy. But then I started to wonder, well, what if they just didn't see a problem at all? What if they liked the way things were? What if I was the one who was out of place? Chapter 2. When you're the only one who feels something is wrong. If you're unhappy at work, it's easy to assume the workplace is the issue. But if no one else feels that way, maybe it's not. Here are some signs that the problem might not be the workplace itself. It might just be that you're in the wrong place. You're frustrated by the things that no one else cares about. You keep trying to fix things, but no one's asking you to. You're looking for challenges the job doesn't offer. You feel disconnected from the team. You can't shake that feeling that you don't belong. You think you're the only one working. You are resentful of the fun everyone else is having. If this sounds familiar, Don't worry, you're not alone. And there is something you can do about it. Chapter 3. When the silence is deafening. The personal toll of being in the wrong place. Well, at first, I tried to push through. My practical skills were valued. There's no question. They were needed, in fact. But my intangible skills, my ability to think outside the box, connect ideas, recognize the problems before they became crises, those weren't just unappreciated, they were ignored. I know that I'm good at the practical stuff. I've been doing it for years. It's not really the part, though, that I'm proud of. The proud part that I am proud of are those intangibles. That's what makes me different. Again, that's silence. Well, that was deafening. I started to dread coming to work. And every time I found something that actually interested me, I was pulled back into the immediate crisis of the day. John, help us. Things I couldn't understand why no one else could handle. And in fact, I thought if people just did their jobs and would just learn how to do these things, I wouldn't have to do that. And I could do what I shine in, what makes me feel whole. I presented how much fun the people were having around me, how at home they all seemed in an environment that made me feel so out of place. But here's the thing. It wasn't that they didn't care. It wasn't that they didn't care about me. We did laugh together. We did have fun. It wasn't as though they were bad people or purposefully ignoring me. They liked the way things were. They saw their issues as things as just obstacles in workday, like things we had to work through. Me looking for problems might have come across as negative. Not part of the team. It's possible. Chapter 5. What to do if you recognize this. If this sounds like your situation, here's what you can do. When you're at your most frustrated, pause and ask, what are they trying to say to me? I don't expect you to get this right away, but it's crucial to ask yourself this question. You don't want to tank a good job because things that have nothing to do with you. There are stressors that influence the words that people say. There are a whole host of things that might be far beyond your pay grade or none of your business. Similarly, their individual goals are feeding what they say. Their intent for their job is projected on the words that they're using and projected in the words that they're using to you. Seeing them in that light can change your perspective an awful lot. When you're at the lowest of your low, you don't see that nuance. This takes practice. But also, look at your own intent. Accept that this place isn't giving you what you need. And when a place doesn't give you what you need, you effectively work for yourself. And when you work for yourself, you start focusing on your own growth and opportunities rather than theirs. Maybe you'll stop trying to force change. You won't fight battles you can't win. You'll ask yourself, what do I really want from this? From there, we can start to define our intention. We can ask what kind of an environment makes me feel engaged and valued. We can start talking about that intention. Don't forget about your boss's business. I know you won't stop doing your job. I know you're a professional. But you're going to start focusing on your own intent rather than what you perceive the intent of the ownership to be. Remember about your own humanity. I don't suggest here that you check out. I don't think the quiet quitting thing is a great idea. If you don't care about your job, you move into autopilot and you spend 8, 9, maybe 10 hours a day not caring. What kind of a human does that make you? But which part do you care about? You know, we're building an entrepreneurial model for our own selves. I'm not saying you go out and start your own business, although you could. I'm saying that you've look at the things that you care about and you practice those at work. For example, you're going to start building connections that serve your future. You define those connections in a way that represents the version of you that you intend to be. You'll look for ways to adapt. Are there projects that interest you? Can you shift your role in small ways? Think about that. Is there something you could do at the job that you think needs to get done? And just do it. And who cares if nobody asked for it and nobody wanted it? When you're at your next job interview or you're trying to do your own thing and you've already tested a theory and you can list that as an accomplishment, do you think that new boss is really going to follow up on it? But you're going to be excited about it. And they're going to want to be around excited people. And lastly, if it isn't working, give yourself permission to move on. Admitting that the job isn't right isn't a failure. It's self-awareness. Like I say, here's the key. There is no better place to take on an entrepreneurial mindset than this. If the job isn't giving you what you need, start working for yourself within it. Use the stability and reputation of the business to build your own skills, network, and opportunities. You're listening to Career Coaching with John. Let's take a short break. Well, how was that for a moment of non-copyright dub? That was Boy S Beats Bob Marley Tribute Rasta 282399, the perfect vibe for career change, life change, the entrepreneurial spirit, Xanax for the soul. It's music. Before we continue, I want to check in with everybody. See how we're doing. See how we're feeling. Check in with yourselves. Make sure I haven't touched a nerve, left it unresolved, confused you. Feel free to write any comments that you'd like, either on my blog, Instagram, Spotify, whatever it is. It's good for us to connect, see where we are. When I left my last job, I wasn't upset. I wasn't angry. This was for very much misalignment reasons, and I spent a lot of the last few months of that job unhappy. But when I left, I wasn't unhappy. I wasn't even angry. I was just a little disappointed that it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. And I thought, if they just talked to me, it could have gone a lot different. But I wasn't upset at them for not doing that. I think that's because I started to ask for things before I left. I knew what my intent was. I started telling people, you know what I really would love to do? I don't want a job. I love working, but I don't want a job. I love to be able to help people. I love to be able to talk about the challenges of the world, apply them. So I set up 3 rules. Number 1, I wasn't going to sweep floors anymore, metaphorically or otherwise. That part of my life was done. I am not cleaning up after people. 2, I wanted to do something that was intellectually and artistically stimulating. My last few jobs weren't that. They were great, they were fun, but they were neither artistically nor intellectually stimulating. I missed it terribly. And 3, I wasn't going to make any big moves. I wasn't going to spend a bunch of money on school. I wasn't going to leave my city without purpose. I needed to figure out my intent. Knowing all that, I started to think of what I was good at, and I started to think of what I was gravitating towards. This is what I came up with. The coaching part of all this is not the scary part for me. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been managing people. I've been giving advice. I've been working through their issues. I've been doing this sorts of stuff for years. The part that is difficult and scary is removing the perfectionism from it all. Expecting myself to be brilliant at things I've never done before. Making this about me and not about everybody else. Making this my business and not trying to change somebody else's. What's the challenge with giving good advice, not giving advice? The best advice is no advice until you know really what the problem is. For me, the problem was that I expected myself to be able to do 100 things at once. It took away that entrepreneurial spirit. I didn't look at this as a student. I looked at this as someone who's supposed to be an expert. All the things that we're doing now, a podcast, a website, a blog, connecting on LinkedIn, you name it. It's not like I've never done it before. I've just never gotten good at it. So what if I suck? What does it really matter? I mean, the first ones are going to be rough, no question. I'm going to learn from the mistakes. I'm going to go on and do something better, right? That's the purpose. You're in these negative environments, that crushes you. That's the hard part that we're trying to get through. When you say leave and go do something else, and you need a month, 2 months to try to recuperate, if we're going to set ourselves up for success out of a job in which we're misaligned from, we need to start while we're there, and we need to start by having the right kind of support, by knowing how to ask for the right kind of support so that we are set up for success when we do leave. All right, let's get back to work. Applying the entrepreneurial mindset. If you realized that you are in a workplace that doesn't fit, it doesn't mean you have to be powerless. We've established now that this is actually the perfect time to take that entrepreneurial mindset. And though this environment might make you feel lonely and stuck, it doesn't have to. Think about this. If everyone else is happy, it's probably a supportive place. Will they really be upset with you if you start recording your own accomplishments? If you take on projects that suit you? If you use the good reputation of the business to build your own network? Probably not. Remember, your attitude here is what dictates what you can or can't get away with. A positive, focused person is somebody that people want to be around. So instead of focusing on what's missing, let's start thinking like an entrepreneur. Look at the job. Identify the things that you can change, and just importantly, the things that they can change. If there are simple things that can change that might help you, ask for them. Your employer might actually want to help you. We're going to look at asking for what we want in a constructive way in a later episode, but for now, practice. Practice asking for what you want. Identify those opportunities within your jobs to develop new skills. Ask, hey, can you pay for this training? Can you send me to this conference? There, you can build relationships with colleagues, with clients, with vendors that will benefit you long term. Our goal here is to use this job as a launching pad, not a dead end. Number 7, conclusion. Well, let's be clear. There is a difference between a toxic workplace and a workplace that simply isn't right for you. One can destroy you emotionally and hold you back professionally, and the other is, at worst, a waste of time. Recognizing that point can give you strength. It can establish intent and keep you focused. Your job doesn't have to define you, but you can define what you want to get out of it. All right, if this episode resonated with you, be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who might need to hear it. I would love to hear your comments or feedback, or if you want to discuss your situation personally, you can find a link to my website, johnfielkowski.com, in the show listings. Thank you for listening to Career Coaching with John, thoughtful approaches for lasting change. My name is John Fielkowski. Until next time, friends, take care.